Okay, boys and girls, I'm back with Geometry Part B. So, before I move on to Part B, I just want to quickly review what we did in Part A. And we discussed 4 vocabulary words: point, line segment, line, and ray. And when we put that dot on the paper and gave it a alphabetical letter, that dot, mathematically speaking, in geometric terms, geometry terms, is called not a dot, but a point. And then the line segment, once again, so we had the point, then we had the line segment, which has 2 endpoints. That was the line segment. But then we had a line that looked very similar to a line segment. The only difference is it continues in both directions. And that's why you have those 2 arrows. Line segment, it has 2 endpoints. It starts and stops on the left here, it stops on the right. But when you have a line, it continues in both directions. And then finally what we had a ray which has 1 endpoint in point B, and it continues in the other direction. So that's basically what we did in Part A. So now, boys and girls, if you need another sheet of paper, or if you have some space on the same sheet of paper that you have, listen to these directions. I need you to make 2 lines that will never touch one another if they're going on top of one another, okay? And they are spaced the same distance apart, okay? They're spaced the same distance apart, and 2 lines going in the same direction. While you're trying to do that, boys and girls, I'm going to do the same. Okay, now, just take a look at what I have up on my board and see if what you have on your notebook paper is similar or exactly what I have on the board here. If it is, raise your hands in distant learning land. All right. So, when I said, boys and girls, put them 2 lines but same distance apart, what I meant by that is, if you look anywhere in between those 2 lines, the space is pretty much the same between both lines. And you can notice the same thing here. There's going to be a reason why I specifically say that the distances are the same apart, moving from one side to the other. Now that takes us, boys and girls, to another vocabulary word. We have 2 lines that are going in both directions, noted by the arrow, and they're spaced evenly apart. What do you think that's called, boys and girls? Very good. I heard somebody say it. These are parallel lines. That's another vocabulary word we have there. The 2 lines, because they're going in both directions, both lines, you notice they're by the arrow and they're spaced evenly apart, that means, boys and girls, I don't care how far those lines, if you spread them out 12 inches or 12 million inches, those two lines will never, ever, ever touch. That's what's so significant about parallel lines. Those two lines will never touch, they will never meet, okay? All right. Now, I need you to listen very closely to this. I need you, boys and girls, to draw two lines, and listen to what I'm saying very carefully. The two lines cross or intersect to form the alphabet lowercase t. Isn't that something? Two lines that cross or intersect to form the alphabet letter lowercase t. Try that for me. While you're doing it, I'm going to do it. Matter of fact, I'm going to do 2 or 3 of them. Two lines, once again, boys and girls, that cross or intersect, that form the alphabet lowercase t. Okay. I put mine on my pad, and let me see if yours is very similar to mine. So I asked you all, I said, to make two lines. How do we know that these, in this first example, how do we know that there are two lines? Say it again. Absolutely. Because we have the arrows. So, line up and down, line across, line up and down with the arrows, line across, lines up and down, lines across. And I want to say line O, B, line A, C. I can do that. But you can name your letters, whatever, your lines, whatever you want. It doesn't have, you can put whatever letters you choose to, so long as they are what? Lines. Okay? Right here. T, line TR, line B, N, line C, X, line D, R. Okay? Notice that it looks like a lower case, right? So the reason why I use the word very, very carefully, I said lines that cross or intersect, because that's our new vocabulary word here. When lines cross one another, that means they intersect or cross. That's another mathematical geometric term. But I want you to look at those. I want you to look very carefully. What do you notice there about these three intersecting lines? Okay, I heard someone say it again. They all intersect or cross at a point where it looks like the capital L. backwards capital L, capital L, upside down capital L, upside down capital L. And we call that, boys and girls, when they cross or intersect, and they had the look of the capital L. New vocabulary word. They cross, those type of lines are called perpendicular lines. Can everyone say that? Perpendicular. Okay, so once again, so we talked about parallel lines, and we all have a book in our house. You can use a sheet of paper book. I'm using this book, of course. I'm putting in a quick plug, quick shout out to Gardner Webb. Why? That's where Mr. Stuckey got his master's degree. So trying to kill two birds with one stone here, boys and girls. I'm giving you an example of parallel lines, but I'm also putting a plug in for the great Gardner Webb University. Hey, okay, shout out. Now, parallel lines. They are equally apart. Look at this book. On this side, up and down. On this side, up and down. They go in the same direction, but they will never, ever, ever touch. They will always be parallel. Now, at the top and at the bottom, side to side, those two lines are evenly apart here. So that means that they will never, ever touch. I don't care how far you stretch this book out. These lines are parallel. Okay, can we all say goodbye to Gardner Webb University? Bye. Okay. Now, intersect. We're talking about lines that cross, and they all cross at a certain point. We're going to get to that specific point a little later on because that's very important. These two lines cross or touch, looking like a lowercase t. These two examples also, but when they cross, they have that capital L shape, and that's why they are called perpendicular lines. Does that make sense there? Okay, so I want you to look at that for a second, boys and girls, before we go on to part C.